Quick poll here, does anyone else get really cringed out when they see the words motivational speaker? Honestly, what is up with the fake upbeat personalities and the forced smiles that just look super painful most of the time? I mean, gotta give credit where credit's due. They do have fantastic cheek muscles. But they're not nearly as comforting as they seem to think that they are. I'm honestly curious about this. Do they really expect us to believe whatever it is that they're trying to sell us just because they look happy while they're doing it? Do they even really believe in what they're saying, or is it all just one big act? Especially when they become super popular online and turn their personality into a branded product. Obviously, I'm talking about Dhar Mann here. No one person can be that happy all the time. I just don't believe that's possible, but that's coming from somebody who's never experienced true happiness in his whole life. But clearly something's working for him though, because his videos get millions of views within the first couple of hours after they're posted. Now, presumably, if you clicked on this video, then you already know who Dhar Mann is. And you've probably watched at least one of his videos. But did you really watch it? Or did you just have it on in the background without really paying attention to it? Have you ever sat down and picked it apart and come to the realization that his videos actually aren't that great? Because I have, and I've noticed that there's some glaring issues, shall we say, with a lot of his videos. Before we really get into it, I just want to ask to make sure that you've subscribed to the channel and smash that notification bell. That way, you won't miss out on any of our other videos. Now, on the surface, a lot of Dhar Mann's videos seem to be super deep and meaningful. You come out of one of his videos feeling like there was an important lesson to be learned at the end of it. And those lessons cover a variety of wide topics, from racial discrimination to gender inequality to just a lot of problematic stuff. The message is clear. These things are bad. Thank you. But that's about as far as it ever gets, because a lot of Dhar Mann's content is actually pretty superficial. If you're hoping for some groundbreaking nugget of wisdom when you clicked on that video, then you went to the wrong place, my friend. Sometimes the message is there, but the solution to that problem is just completely misinterpreted. The most obvious example that I can think of is probably the video about the girl being made fun of for liking unicorns. As a side note, does anyone else find it kind of weird that he uses the fact that she has Down syndrome as a clickbait? It has nothing to do with anything that happens in the video itself, but for some reason, it's important to mention it in the title? Why exactly? Now, what do you think the message of this video is supposed to be? Not what you personally got out of it, but what do you think it's meant to be? It's supposed to be that picking on other people is wrong, right? That's what we're supposed to have learned when we click away from the video. Singling other people out and making fun of them for the things that they're into is wrong. And that's an important lesson to learn. And that's why it's something we're all taught as kids, or should be taught as kids. But the problem here is that that's not the message that's actually coming across, whether Dhar Mann and his crew realize it or not. Because instead of teaching the girls involved about why it's wrong and how their actions have affected other people, the video just removes them from the equation. No, seriously, think about it for a second. Who really fixes the problem? What happens that makes everything okay in the end? It's not the girls learning anything about why their behavior was wrong and then growing from it. Hell, it's not even them being called out and told that they're the ones in the wrong for what they did to the other girl. No. The solution to this problem is that the mom's video goes viral and she gets a ton of support because the other kids at school want to look cool for doing it. Sure, the girls who were making fun of her in the first place look pretty dumb by the end, but it's not like they've actually learned their lesson. People don't just unlearn years of bad behavior and hurtful thought processes after one interaction that tells them that they might be wrong. And this is a consistent problem with Dhar Mann's videos. Ah, you don't believe me? Well, the exact same thing happened in this video about the doctor on the plane and the video about the female police officer. Neither of the bad guys actually learn their lesson. They just get publicly put on blast for being wrong. But that's not the only issue that I have with Dhar Mann's content. No. And I think this one might be worse than the first. This man has made a worrying amount of videos about the dangers of women being gold diggers. No, seriously, there's a lot of them. I didn't realize it was this big of an issue, but according to Dhar Mann, it is. let's just be honest here for a second. Is it even an issue? Maybe it was back in the early 2010s, but I thought we'd pretty much all moved past that attitude. I thought society had moved on to the idea that so long as the relationship is between two consenting adults, what they do in their personal lives isn't a big deal. But apparently not. This whole thing of demonizing women because they're materialistic and interested in money, it just seems kind of weird to me. Because the lesson of these videos is never about how being materialistic is a bad thing. There's never a lesson about how there are more important things in life than how many cars you have, or how big your house is, or how many Louis Vuitton purses you own. No, the lesson is always that being a woman and being materialistic is bad. Think about it for a second. The roles are never reversed. Men can want to be rich. Sometimes they're even more materialistic than the women in his videos, but they are never punished for it in the same way. In fact, they're never punished at all. They're certainly never publicly humiliated for wanting a nicer car or buying their girlfriend a Louis Vuitton purse. And this is another thing that I've noticed about Dhar Mann's videos. He loves using public humiliation as a punishment for people. It seems to be his favorite way of teaching people a lesson. It shows up in all of his videos, but it is especially noticeable in his Gold Digger series. It's so noticeable that I'm beginning to wonder if there's something personal going on here. And yeah, it is kind of weird that it shows up so much, but it's not actually that surprising. Because thinking about it, the plot line in almost every single one of these videos falls into one of two categories. There's the kind of video where a gold digger runs into an old friend, makes an assumption about her financial situation, and then lives to regret it. Or there are the videos where the girlfriend leaves her unsuccessful boyfriend and, you guessed it, lives to regret it. The first kind is pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. The gold digger will find herself in a situation where she judges someone else for their financial situation. Sometimes that's because of how they dress, sometimes it's because of the size of an engagement ring, and sometimes it's because of the other person's job. Something will then immediately happen to make her look dumb and judgmental. The other person gets a promotion at work, or the guy she was flirting with actually has maxed out all his credit cards, or her boyfriend gets fired. And the real kicker, folks, the blame is usually put on her. Because other grown adults don't actually need to have their own autonomy, apparently. It's the other kind of video that I find a lot more interesting. There's just something about them that feels so personal because they're always the exact same. Oh, sure, they all have different names and they've been played by different actors and the setting is a little different, but don't let that fool you. The characters at their core are always the same people. There will always be a guy who is down on his luck because he has an unspecified business idea that he's struggling to get off the ground. He will always have a super demanding girlfriend that for some reason he wants to stick around, even if she treats him really badly. The girlfriend will always be super vain, demand that her boyfriend buy her luxury brand goods, usually Louis Vuitton, and get really angry when he can't afford to. Not only that, but she will constantly complain about the car that he drives and make comparisons between him and his much more successful boss. She will then inevitably break up with him and scene. And because the plot of these videos is always the same, you can guarantee that the video will end with some kind of public humiliation, usually in the form of the girlfriend seeing her ex-boyfriend out in the wild and noticing that, what? He's super successful now. And when she tries to hook up with him again, he will always reveal that he has a new girlfriend now who's stuck with him through the hard time, so he'll buy her whatever she wants. I'm not really sure what the lesson of these videos is supposed to be. It's okay to be a gold digger if your boyfriend lets you. It's okay to be materialistic if you're doing it together. Oh, how romantic. But do you see what I mean? The plot is always the same. And people have started pointing out that it happens in his other videos too. He's been criticized for making multiple videos of the dangers of the B word that I'm not allowed to say, with people pointing out that he needs to start diversifying his content or it's gonna grow stale pretty fast. As it is, I think a lot of people just aren't really paying attention to just how surface level and repetitive a lot of his content really is. just because of how high his production quality is. For what are essentially just YouTube skits, the production quality is insanely good. He's got decent cameras and lighting, and I think that does a lot more than people are willing to admit. I mean, there's a reason you guys haven't seen my face, yeah. It's certainly not the acting that is selling these videos to people. But what do you guys think? Do you like Dhar Mann's videos? Do you think he needs to change anything? What do you think he could do to make them better? Let us know in the comments below.